Hi and welcome to the Cult of Crafting. A few months ago I showed you how I made 4 trench tiles for Warhammer 40,000 and a lot of you commented that I should make a tile with a bunker on it. So that's what we're doing today. I start by making the walls of the bunker by cutting some long pieces of XPS foam. These are going to form the sides of the bunker. If you don't have XPS foam or a hot wire table, using foam board and a knife works well too. The bunker will, in essence, be an elongated hexagonal, and all angles of a regular hexagon are 120 degrees each. Since we are sticking 2 pieces of foam together to create that angle, we'll have to cut the ends at half that, 60 degrees. Luckily we can adjust the Proxon hot wire table to cut the foam at that angle. I'll make some buttresses that'll sit between the wall pieces to support the roof and make it look more solid. It'll also help it look like something that belongs in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. I'll make a long square piece, then I'll cut one side at an angle and then I can slice it like a salami to get the buttresses. As the last step before gluing the pieces together, I'll divide the wall into a top and bottom part to make an embrasure so that the minis will be able to see out of the bunker. These 2 pieces will sit between the buttresses we just made. Now it's time to start assembling the bunker. I'll start with the bottom parts and then I'll flip it over and add the top parts, so I can use my table to make sure all the pieces are aligned. I'm using PVA to glue them together and pins to keep the pieces in place while the glue dries. While this is drying, let me give you a couple of recommendations from today's sponsor, Skillshare. I've been a premium member of Skillshare for 2 years this month. I joined Skillshare because I love learning new things and I believe in investing in my skill set. I usually do 1 or 2 courses a month. To create this YouTube channel, I had to learn a lot of tools and techniques, and much of it I learned on Skillshare. 2 of the most valuable courses I took were Ali Abdal's YouTube for Beginners and his course on video editing. If you want to start a YouTube channel, I highly recommend those courses. A few months ago I took the course Everyone Can Draw, a series of exercises for people who haven't learned how to draw, which helped my inner perfectionist getting comfortable with being a beginner and just having fun with it. I did a few of the exercises with my girlfriend and we had a lot of laughs making bad drawings. Speaking of drawing, my main hobby goals for this year is to improve as an artist in 2 particular areas. I want to learn how to draw and I want to become a better miniature painter. Towards that last goal, I've just finished Victor Nye's course on mastering color, which gave me some excellent advice on creating great color palettes, which is something I've struggled with, and as a consequence my paint schemes tend to be quite bland. Over the last couple of years, I've learned that I'm most happy when I'm doing creative work. Skillshare has helped me along that path and I hope they can do the same for you. I'll leave a link in the description. The first 1,000 people to use the link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Right, let's get back to work. The bunker is looking good so far, and now it's time to make the roof. But I've realized that I made a mistake, because my foam cutter isn't actually large enough to make a roof that's wide enough to reach all the way across the bunker. So instead I'm gonna make the roof in 3 pieces and then I'll glue them together, so it'll look like the roof is made of 3 concrete slabs. I'll make the shape for the end pieces out of this block and then I'll split it into 2 pieces. I'm marking out 120 degrees like before, so I'll have some guides to follow. Then I'll remove the rest and split the piece into 2 parts. Now that we have the 3 pieces we need, let's make them look like concrete. I'll use the tinfoil ball to give them some texture. And now we glue them together using PVA glue. This bunker will belong to the Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum, so I want to make an aquila to put on the roof of the bunker. I printed this template and now I'll glue it onto this cardboard. Games Workshop has made some stencils available. I'll leave a link in the description. To avoid warping and wrinkling, I'll use the worst glue known to man, the glue stick. Let's hope this works. We want the smooth side facing up, so we'll glue the template to the rough side of the cardboard. Surprisingly it worked. Now it's just a question of cutting out the aquila with a sharp knife. I'm not sure the cardboard will work as intended, and I'm somewhat regretting that I didn't make it out of foam to get a bit more thickness. We'll see how it ends up looking. I'm taking care not to ruin the surrounding cardboard, so we can use that as a stencil if my first idea fails. The glue has dried and we can remove the pins. I'll use some rolled up tinfoil to give it a concrete texture, and we can make the concrete look damaged by poking holes and tearing off bits of foam here and there. I want to give it an oil wash, so first I'll give it a coat of Mod Podge to protect the foam from the solvents. After the Mod Podge has dried, I'll give it a white primer with a new foam safe spray I picked up recently. Now I'll add the oil wash, which is just a black oil paint diluted with white spirit, and I'll slap that all over the model. I'm doing it on top of a piece of cardboard because that'll soak up the runoff so I don't get the wash everywhere. Once I'm done, I'll take it outside and leave it to dry. The wash has dried, but it still looks a bit too white and splotchy, so I'll give it a wash of some acrylic colors diluted with water and a bit of washing up liquid to reduce surface tension. I'm gonna use a variety of colors to make it a little more interesting to look at. I'll use the same wet painting technique that I've used before, where I essentially mix colors on a wet surface to avoid staining and to let the paints flow like they want to. I'm adding a bit of washing up liquid to the water to reduce surface tension so the water doesn't form droplets as easily. I'm using earthy colors because anything that's left outside for a period of time in this part of the world will have dirt and microorganisms growing on it. You don't need these specific colors, they just happen to be the ones that I have to hand and what I like to use. It's time to get the Imperial Eagle painted up. I'll stick the pieces on some painter's tape to see if we can't stop the bits from flying all over the place when I spray them with my airbrush. Hopefully they'll come off the painter's tape again. It might be better to use the negative as a stencil, but we'll try it this way first. I'll start by applying a brown color as a base coat for the metal we're gonna paint on later. Next I'll paint it in a mix of bronze and aluminum by Vallejo. So it seems that the paper cardboard didn't like the moisture and some of the pieces are splitting. I'll put some glue between the layers and see if that doesn't fix it. I also realized that I painted on the wrong side of one of the wings, so I'll just repaint that. Now that I fixed that problem, we can glue the aquila to the roof. I'm using PVA glue to give myself a little time to make adjustments. Let's give the aquila some weathering too. Now, the clever ones of you will probably ask, well, why didn't you just wait until you glued the aquila on the roof before weathering the bunker? And there's a very simple and reasonable explanation for that. I forgot. Things are looking good. Now we need to add the supports to the roof to make sure it stays put. They're slightly beveled to help the roof slide into place when we'll be putting it back on. I made a base out of 3mm MDF and I primed and painted it pretty much the same way I did the bunker. So now it's time to glue the bunker in place. Let's make some ground texture. For this we'll be using some spackle, add some PVA glue, brown craft paint, a little black to darken it up, and finally we'll take some coconut fiber to make it look like there's roots and stuff in the ground. I'll also add some water and then we'll mix it up. I'm adding paint so that if the ground texture chips later on, it won't be noticeable. I'm looking to get a muddy consistency like this. Let's get the ground texture onto the base. Time to do some flocking. I'll use these 3 static grasses. I'll start with the short autumn grass and then I'll add another layer of summer grass and dead grass. I'll use my static grass applicator, but if you don't have one, you can use static grass tufts instead. I'm not actually sure that the 2mm grass needs to be applied with a static grass applicator. It seems to fall more or less flat no matter what you do. As always, I want to thank my patrons for their support, and I want to welcome the newest member, Iron Consul 22. Thanks for joining us. Now we'll leave it to dry and then repeat the process. And by the way, if you make something inspired by my tutorials and you post pictures on Facebook or Instagram, please tag me. I love seeing what you guys come up with. Next, I'll add some dried soil to make some color variation on the ground texture and to dirty up the floor of the bunker. I'll spray it with diluted PVA glue multiple times to fix it in place. Thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. If you want to support the channel, get your free trial now by using the link below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.